Welcome. I'm Patrick Brady.
And I'm Orion Breen, and this is Maine Better.
With us today is Senator Susan Collins, and I think congratulations are in order today.
Yes, congratulations on being our first repeat guest.
Well, thank you. I'm truly honored to have that distinction.
We're happy to have you. So we're here to talk about infrastructure, and I know that there's been a lot going on in Washington lately.
Well, before we do, I should actually congratulate you on being voted the most or ranked the most bipartisan senator for the 7th year in a row.
Actually, it's the 8th year in a row, but thank you for that. Congratulations. I think we need more people in Washington who are willing to work across the aisle so we could get more done for Maine and for the American people.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, what is going on in Washington with transportation? There's a lot of talk about infrastructure and transportation these days.
There certainly is, and I hope there'll be more than talk. I hope that there'll actually be a bill that becomes law and that it'll be a reasonable, focused, bipartisan bill. I've spent a huge amount of time meeting with my colleagues and with experts and with people who have an interest in this bill. And I think it really comes down to three major issues. One is, what should the scope of this bill be? Should it focus primarily on traditional infrastructure plus broadband? Second, what should the overall cost be? What should the top line be? And third, how shall we pay for it? And that's what we're trying to figure out. From my perspective, the easiest question to answer of those three is the first one. The hardest is the last one.
The energy around the conversation seems a little different this time around. What do you think the reason for that is, as opposed to prior initiatives where well-intentioned, but they just seem to sort of fizzle out?
That's a good point. There's long been bipartisan support for a robust infrastructure bill. After all, every one of us is back in our home states all the time, and we know personally what the condition of our roads, our bridges, our highways, our waterways, our seaports, our airports are, not to mention the gaps in broadband. So we also, many of us look every year at the American Society of Civil Engineers report, which rates each state's physical infrastructure. And what is different this time is the administration also agrees that this should be a priority, but there's huge disagreement on what the word infrastructure means. I would never have anticipated that we would have an infrastructure bill that went beyond physical and digital infrastructure and instead embraced a lot of social programs. There may be a case to be made for increasing funding for childcare, for example, but that's not what I think of when I think of infrastructure. And so that's going to be the first area that is going to have to be resolved. And that I hope that we can convince the administration to carve out the physical and digital infrastructure from the rest of what the administration very loosely has grouped under infrastructure.
I think I read that the proposal the Republicans are discussing, even though the overall cost is smaller than the Biden proposal, that it actually spends more on funding the roads and bridges.
You're absolutely right about that. And it is amazing to me that the administration is proposing to spend more on subsidies for electric vehicles than on roads and bridges, highways, airports, and seaports added together. That to me is just stunning. I'm not saying that that we're not going to see more and more electric vehicles, and that's a good thing in many ways. But to so heavily subsidize the manufacture and purchase of electric vehicles, not to mention the charging stations that the administration envisions as replacing a lot of gas stations, is extraordinary to me. And I just think that that priority needs to be flipped.
I think in the New York Times today, I read an article about lithium batteries and how there's detrimental environmental impact with that.
You know, that was such an interesting story in the New York Times, pointing out how much water is used to make lithium batteries, for example. And I think that it should cause us to stop and reflect as we proceed to make sure that when we think we're investing in a green technology, we really are investing in a green technology. And the fact is that increasing the mileage, for example, on traditional automobiles that are powered by internal combustion engines can be very effective. Decreasing the emissions from vehicles can be an effective way of helping to counter pollution. So it's something that at times is not as easy and clear as the conventional wisdom would have us believe. And I think we also have to be careful about government putting its fingers on the scales too much and displacing what the market is going to produce. So this is something, I'm not saying that there isn't a place for certain government incentives, but the markets also can be responsive. And we have to be careful that we don't so distort the market place that we produce perhaps vehicles that people don't want to buy, or we have goals that are not achievable, or we have unintended consequences.
Do you have any practical advice for people who may or are either proponents of or advocate against the Biden or the Republican infrastructure proposal? Do you have any advice for those people to get their voices heard?
Well, I think it's really important that groups like the Maine Better Transportation organization speak out. I've met also with car dealers recently who explained to me that there already are significant incentives for electric vehicles under the RGGI program, the regional program that Maine is involved in, that helps to reduce greenhouse gases in the Northeast. And they were talking, this one car dealer was talking about selling 4 electric vehicles to a municipality in southern Maine, and how much of a subsidy that they were getting, which I know about RGGI, and I knew there was some sort of subsidy, but I was amazed at just how big a subsidy already existed. So how is that going to interface with what President Biden is proposing? So that's why meetings are so helpful, whether it's with people who contribute to the supply chain for manufacturing vehicles, or contractors who would build and repair our roads and bridges. I'm excited about working on a broader infrastructure package that will, I hope, give us more money, but I really think we need to focus on core infrastructure plus broadband extension. And we need to get this economy moving again in every sense of the word. And I think an infrastructure project helps create good jobs as well. So I've talked to everyone from construction companies to car dealers to safety groups to workers, to a wide variety of people to get their input on the infrastructure package. And I really hope that we can get this done and in a bipartisan way. I think it's really important for the state of Maine and for our country as well.
Maybe the last question before we let you go, because we got to have at least one fun question, is what's one thing that you're looking forward to this summer that you weren't able to do last summer because of the pandemic?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. I had a combination of the pandemic plus a very vigorous, hard-fought campaign that kept me very tied up last summer. And so I got to my camp on Coldstream Pond very rarely last summer. So I can't wait to get up to my camp with my husband, to have friends over for a cookout, which we couldn't do, and to let my dog Pepper, my black lab, who loves the lake, just loves going swimming there. And that's what I'm most looking forward to, having a weekend at the camp with Pepper swimming, Tom and I out in the kayak, and then friends over for a cookout. I love to cook, and I can't wait to be doing some grilling and making my famous melt in your mouth blueberry cake.
Sounds like a pretty good Maine weekend to me.
That it is.
Well, Orion, anything else?
No, we don't want Christopher to get mad at us for holding you up too long.
It's always a pleasure to talk with all of you. It's always a great opportunity, and please be assured that transportation and infrastructure are really high on my priority list, and I'm going to do everything I can to forge a bipartisan consensus so that we can get the job done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.